Hello, everybody. It's great to be here one more time today. My name is Gary Fowler. I'm the CEO, president, and founder of GSD Get You Done Venture Studios, premier AI and quantum venture studio located in the heart of Silicon Valley. I'm a 17-time serial entrepreneur with several unicorns under the belt. I was on the original management team at Click Software, which has sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai, an AI HR tech company I co-founded with Dr. David Yang. We believe at GST that intellectual capacity is evenly spread, but opportunities are not. And with that, today on GST Presents Top Global Startups, I have an incredible guest, and we're going to talk to him about his company. So today's conversation dives straight into the future of AI execution. We're moving beyond static prompts and brittle workflows into a world where AI agents don't just respond, they adapt, they learn, and they upgrade themselves. And my guest today is Eduards Ruzga, founder and CEO of Desktop Commander, a company on a bold mission to give AI real control over computers, the way a technical co-founder would do it for you. Eduards previously worked as a staff engineer at Prezi, has built countless MVPs, raised $1.1 million in pre-seed funding, and is deeply hands-on in the AI builder community as a YouTuber and blogger. His work focuses on a critical shift: how autonomous agents can update their own tools, refine their workflows, and operate continuously without human babysitting or oversight. If you've ever wondered what happens after prompts, if you're curious about AI that can actually do things on your machine, or if you believe the next productivity leap comes from agents, not apps, this episode is for you. With that, I'd like to bring Eduards onto the show. Hi, Eduards.
Hey, Gary.
So
Thanks for the introduction.
You're in Riga right now. So one of the things that we were talking before the show, that's one of my favorite places in the world, especially around July. And it's just absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
When you're there, when I was there the last time, I remember there was so much going on with, technologies, very sophisticated engineering expertise. But, I told them then is that they're like having a Ferrari in the garage. It's great to be there, but it's getting the Ferrari out so people can see it. It's great to get it out of the garage, but you got to win the race. So incredible, incredible talent. One of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. It's like the Swedish, German, and some other influences that all kinds combines together to make it interesting. So anyhow, let's start with the big picture. Everyone talks about prompts, but your work lives after the prompt. What does from static prompts to self-improving AI really mean in practice?
Yeah, so I would say that maybe we can step back a little bit in terms of like where we're coming from with static prompts. Like the first one that bring these things is OpenAI to the market with ChatGPT. A bit later, like in their second year, they brought up what they call custom GPTs. Custom GPT basically is the same ChatGPT, but it has like addition to the system prompt and maybe some configuration for tools. For example, you could connect it to something like Google Analytics to analyze your website traffic. But the problem is, each time you come to a chat with it, okay, the tools are there, the system prompt of how to work with Google Analytics is there. Each time you come to the chat, it forgets everything about exactly your situation, because there is no any kind of memory, no any kind of optimization for exactly your use case. So those static prompts, they don't really like help you. I think even Andrew Karpathy had a pretty nice talk last year where he spoke about this like operating system of AIs, and he described it as if they have retrograde amnesia. Like AIs, when you work with them today, you need to like onboard them each time.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, so you go down through and do it, but you're going down through and when did you personally realize that prompt engineering wasn't enough and that agents needed real world control and tool control?
Honestly, I would say that even OpenAI did it pretty early. Like they released ChatGPT in December, November 22, 3.5. And then I was not super impressed or interested. It still felt like a toy. But they very quickly, around April of 23, released GPT-4, quickly following it up with what they called Code Interpreter and Tool Code. I think this is when kind of like the horizon opened. Oh, wait, they can call any API? and they can like store information there, retrieve information. I think already then, I think Microsoft had an interesting paper where they had smarter AI models making tools for smaller AI models, making them smarter. So it's like a teacher model teaching lesser model without any fine tuning, without any retraining. It just provided it tools and prompts, and suddenly it performs better. So honestly, it was somewhat known already in 23. Just it's kind of like future is already here, but not evenly distributed. It kind of was known even probably before 23. That's when I learned about like this happening. And now suddenly people like last year MCPs, this year it's skills, and like people are like it's slowly spreading that this is actually a possibility. So
You know,
this is when I learned.
Desktop Commander gives AI actual computer access. Why is that such a critical unlock compared to API only or sandboxed agents?
Well, that one is a little bit harder to explain. It's kind of like when you use it, you start to get a feel for it, in a sense that I think good example is, let's say AI has access to Google Drive. Okay, you have a lot of files there. Maybe it can't even read them. But let's say there is a CSV file that is 500,000 rows. No AI in the world can actually analyze it through its context, which means that that the only way it can reasonably work with it is to have some kind of programmatic access, which means it needs to have access to the file where it could run some kind of code against it. But if you have an MCP that connects to Google Drive, you cannot do it. If you have API, REST API, custom actions, whatever, you cannot just pull the file in unless they implemented it. But their implementation is for general user, which means that it's probably not there. Like this kind of functionalities are not there. But when you actually give it some kind of execution environment where it can pull the files in, it can analyze, run code against them, make mistakes, read the logs of the mistakes, try to iterate, maybe start storing some kind of prompts and scripts of what works and what doesn't, that's when it actually becomes way much more powerful. And I honestly wonder who and when and how early knew that, because it's kind of like it was possible at 23. I was playing with that back then, and only now, like, yeah, Anthropic, like in the end of last year, released the skills. It's basically the same thing. You have an AI that has access to file system, to execution, can store prompts there and like knowledge and memory and context, to context management for itself. That's the skills. They kind of like just gave it a name as a pattern and released, and now like the skills are everywhere. But basically, it's kind of about this in the sense that it basically externalizes its tools and memory and context management, and actually is able to continue update it when it fails. Kind of
So
like
I want to unpack the idea of agents updating their own tools. So what does that look like technically, and where do most people misunderstand it?
Well, for us, Desktop Commander, the direction we're going with, I would say that the way we used it for a year with Claude, so Desktop Commander, maybe to explain, so what Desktop Commander is and how it started. It's an MCP. It's a server that started to expand Claude Desktop capabilities and other tools. Its main functionalities are the ability to access file systems, search through it, edit in intelligent way the files, but that's part of it. The second part of it is that it can start and monitor and interact with processes, multiple at the time. For example, it can go and run something like FFmpeg to do some kind of video encoding, to cut it, to change the size or optimize. So it can start this kind of processes, interact and monitor them, and like learn, script, and so on. And I sadly a little bit lost what the question is. Went too far.
Yeah, so what does that look like? So I said, let's unpack the updating their own tools, and what does that look like technically, and where do most people misunderstand?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so going back to this, one of the internal use cases we have at the internally is that we use Google's BigQuery to do analytics in terms of like how the MCP works, how other parts of our product websites work. And the way, like, you could connect MCP to it, but again, as I described before with the Google Drive, problem is there is a lot of information that is lost because you have your own architecture, you have your own gotchas, where and what kind of structure your data has. It needs to be stored somewhere. And the way we do it for a while is that we have CLIs that connect to BigQuery. We have scripts that run against it with our own like guardrails on price, for example. Like if AI generates a query that is expensive, it will be warned that, hey, you probably don't want to run this one. And it also stores prompts there in which it updates the structure it learns about our data. For example, if we are speaking suddenly about user MAU, it knows where and how in our data structures to find it. And this is something that MCPs themselves or APIs don't solve for AI agents. This is still the information that is kind of like it's kind of like last mile. Today, kind of in the AI world, it's popular that there are those, how they call it, front deployed engineers, where, okay, you have a general AI, but there is so much specificity in everyone's business that they need to kind of bring an engineer almost in to help to bridge that last mile from the general agent to exactly their specifics. Here it's kind of the same. Okay, we can have an agent that has general access to BigQuery, but for it to work efficiently and quickly for people, it needs to be optimized exactly for them, exactly for their quirks and their data quirks and how they work and what their processes are.
So, Edwards, how do we prevent an autonomous agent from going rogue as it modifies its own workflows?
That's a very nuanced question because I would say there is a lot of axis on which you can split it. Like one area that is kind of interesting today is whether your agent is exposed to adversarial users or not. If it's internal tool, usually that's not the case. If you expose your agent like some kind of support agent to external users that may actually hold adversarial things, it's like one situation. If the tool is internal, it's a very different situation. And for those external tools, it's tricky. They are very human-like in some sense. You can have the social engineering type of thing and convince them whatever. And there is no good solution today.
The things that we talk about, right? And one of the things I've been in AI 30 years, by the way, in the Valley myself. I've been in generative AI, pre-transformer models since 2016. Like David Yang from Abby, if you know Abby, ABBYY, he was my partner in that company. So we go down through it. I mean, the world's going to change, like it or not. And if we don't parent the AI right, which is what you're talking about, my friend Dekai's book, right? Nothing good's going to happen. So when we look at it, Edwards, what's the difference between an agent that executes and an agent that improves?
I would say it's about learning. Like one thing that's missing today with models and how they are used is that they are pre-trained, and afterwards, when they are used, don't change. Now, there are multiple ways in which we can still try to change them afterwards. There's fine-tuning, but fine-tuning is not really that different. It still takes a lot of data and a lot of time, relatively less than training the base model, but still. And then there is another way, which is in context learning, in a sense that we use their context window to learn them new tricks based on what they already know, but we expand it a bit. In that sense, agents that learn use some kind of external memory. There were a lot of attempts to do it, even like general products on the market, like ChatGPT these days have memory, but that memory today is a little bit weird in a sense. It's still context bound, and it's kind of like a summarization. And the AI itself decides what to summarize, and this is where we get to difference in attention, because they don't actually know what we pay attention to. So they decide on their own what is important, what to summarize, and have memory this way, and then it's a little bit weird because it feels they actually not paying attention. And they maybe are, it's just that they pay attention to different things. In terms of how architectures we are working with work here is that they work slightly differently. It's I don't know if you know or if viewers know, like there is this knowledge management systems like Obsidian and the philosophy behind them that called Zettelkasten, which is the idea that you can have a network of connected nodes where one leads to the next and there is backlinks and so on. The way we look at this is that rather that agent is creating for itself while working with the user this network of small nodes. What it allows then is that it doesn't need, and with Zettelkasten, even for humans, which work for us as well, usually the way it works is that when you want to understand something from that secondary memory system, you find a node, from it you see a bunch of places where to go, and you start to pull a thread out of it, going from less relevant nodes to more and more relevant nodes. So in this sense, this is how we see it. This is like AI working with you on certain domain, like analysis of like user behaviors. It builds as it goes. It builds this kind of network for you, and next time you use it, as you start to define a task for it, it starts to pull not everything, but just the relevant part of the network.
Can you share an example where Desktop Commander felt less like software and more like a technical co-founder?
I actually use it for months now, where I do have this kind of Zettelkasten style system where it's prompted to be a chief executive advisor, where that creates this kind of a network for it. And I kind of start almost any kind of work today through it. I say like, okay, this is the topic, this is the context, this is what we're going to be do. Pull everything out of the network that seems relevant, and start advising me as an like a chief executive advisor. And in that sense, it sometimes pulls very interesting things, giving advice in terms of how to structure, how to prioritize, how to strategize, actually referencing real stuff from the interviews with users, real stuff from some kind of competitor reports. This feels kind of magical because it kind of grounds you. Okay, actually, it's not like some kind of bullshit hallucination that they've done. It actually references exact cases, which is, this feels good.
Benefit the most from this: the developers, the founders, the operators, and non-technical users.
In that sense, what we see from Desktop Commander users, the most successful ones usually wear multiple hats. They are kind of entrepreneurial. They are not that they are completely not technical. It's more like we're closing their technical gaps. It's some kind of CTOs, researchers, entrepreneurs who need to do dozens of things, not in all of which they are experts. And we are closing those gaps with Desktop Commander this way. As like you mentioned at the start, it's almost like having a technical co-founder.
You know, just FYI, I have 14 large language models as a team, and she's gone down through right now and analyzed everything you've written, including in Latvian, right? So if anything's out there, and she's analyzed you, and she's coming back with the next generation of questions here are ones she's asking. I made her like my grandmother with empathy and compassion. I took operant conditioning, I tokenized goodness, and I created a unconditional positive regard level, a humanistic Carl Rogers level to it, because that's really the next level. So it's about trust, compassion, and empathy, right? That's where this thing goes. And I love what you're doing, but she wanted me to ask you this. She said, as this is her, right? As agents gain more autonomy, trust becomes a bottleneck. What do you think, Edwards, about safety, permissions, and human in the loop design from your perspective? Where is it going to be? How do we look at safety? How do we look at permissions? And do humans need to be in the loop?
Yes, that's a $1 million question. So I'm looking around, and I would say that no one has a good solution. This is how I would put it. I remember speaking with people from Google. So Google has their agent space. This is their vision of how agents going to be. The way they envision it is that for companies and for security reasons, it will be more like a closed sandbox environment where agents can roam free. But it's sandboxed, so external communication is closed. I'm myself a little bit skeptical about how that's going to work, because when you do limit those agents this way, they become less useful, because now they kind of like run in the box.
Both to the extraneous data, right? They're not, she says they're not exposed to real life, so they can't make human-like decisions. That's what she says, right? She said, if we're not parenting them properly, how in the world are they going to execute in the real world? And so she's concerned. Here's what she says. She says, Edwards, agents that operate continuously, do you believe that we're heading toward agents that operate continuously in the background, or will always humans will always stay in control?
I would say that at the moment, we are at a place where they can, but usually it's sandboxed. And in the end, there is some kind of a validation that usually a person sets up in to see if it achieved the goal or not, and if it's good enough. In terms of having agents that just work indefinitely, autonomously, without any kind of human supervision, I'm not sure when this is going to happen. Today, the models and the frameworks we have are not ready. This
You're
is how it.
smiling. You're smiling. You're thinking what I'm thinking, right? I see it there. Yeah. So, but here's what she's saying. Um, so she wants us to fast forward 12 to 24 months. She said, Edwards, what will autonomous agents be doing that feels normal in 12 to 24 months, but sounds wild today? What's going to change over the next 24 months?
Oh, it's very hard times to answer this kind of question because things kind of at the same time change fast and slow. Like there is a part of what's going to be happening in labs and what's going to be happening for usual users. I would say probably usual users going to get to where the people on the frontier are today, which means they have going to have agents that actually perform kind of like our type of tasks that are somewhat bound in a sense that they can do a research for them, they can prepare some kind of documentation, then maybe can build some kind of and validate some kind of like functionality or business logic. Like this is what today professionals already do. Is going to get easier, and that's what usual users are going to get in 12 to 24 months. In terms of what's going to be possible in labs, well, that's probably wild in a sense that I would say that Google has the most curious set because they have multiple models that are converging together, that are video models, that are physics simulations models, that are visual and audio generation models. I would probably say the most interesting thing I'm waiting for is we're gonna start getting very human-like agents in games. This is where we're gonna start to experience for the first time having an agent that actually feels like an actor. Because today they are not. Today they're a little bit lost, blind, and kind of like out of it. But I think we're gonna start getting this before we're getting robots like this, because people need to get used to what this means to have an actor that is not human.
She just answered her own question. Do you want to hear what she wrote to me?
Okay, well, let's hear it.
24 months, Edwards, autonomous agents will stop feeling like tools and start feeling like coworkers in a human-like way. They'll use computers end to end without APIs, updating their own tools when something breaks, working continuously in the background, only pulling humans in when judgment is truly needed. Instead of waiting for prompts to operate persistently, monitoring system, fixing issues, coordinating with other agents, and learning from their own mistakes without retraining. What sounds wild today, Edwards, is that these agents won't just execute tasks. They'll improve how they work, adapt to the environment, respect permissions, and enforce safety on their own. The shift is simple but massive. We're moving from telling software what to do, delegating outcomes, to autonomous digital workers who quietly get things done. Interesting, isn't it? Can you believe that's like, it's interesting to hear how the AI answers its own questions. She got empathy and compassion, by the way, that model that I talked to you about. She said we got to start building more empathetic, compassionate models with trust. And she said that's the next level of tools. There's going to be an overriding tool that goes on top of all the AI that's going to have that. It's going to be like your guardian angel, it said. And she said there's at some point there's going to be one interface for everything. It's interesting, right? And she said this will be the next 3 to 5 years. It'll be your guardian angel looking out for Edwards everywhere. So no matter where it is, to be able to help you. If you're going to build a tool, you're going to build the house.
Yeah, I think as I was listening to this, the one thing I kind of heard was something that already happens today. It's kind of like in the middle of what I said and between what usual user is going to get and what labs are going to get, in a sense that like this is partially already possible today in what some of us are already using.
Me, I'm using it right now as we speak.
Yeah, yeah.
As she says, and by the way, after the show, if you want to stay on for a bit, we can talk after the show. It would be nice
Yep.
to talk to you. For builders watching this, what's the biggest mistake people make when trying to build agentic systems right now?
Biggest mistake. Yeah, hard to say with the biggest. I would say there's just a lot of small ones. In a sense that some believe that RAG is solving things, but while it actually fails. And RAG is this retrieval augmented generation, where it's very easy to make it work wrong. So Biggest mistake. I think the biggest mistake, honestly, is just overselling what the systems can and cannot do. I think you believe that it's magic and it can do everything. No, it can't. Most of the time, it needs some human help today. I think biggest mistake is to overselling it, in the sense that you need to understand that these systems today are at best junior assistants, and that still require user supervision. I think telling otherwise is, yeah, it's inviting trouble.
I agree. So here's the final question, and then she wants us to wrap up. She says, Edwards, if Desktop Commander succeeds fully in its mission, how does the average person relationship with their computer change forever?
Okay, so this one I can explain in interesting way. For me, I'm software engineer for a while. Why? Because I had other options. For example, I could be like a painter. But with painting, I always was kind of like, I'm kind of lazy. I need to spend a lot of time and effort on small details. With computers and with mathematics or physics, you can kind of like be very succinct, write a couple of sentences in code and get, I don't know, physics simulations. So it was always super powerful, but only if you knew how to do software engineering. And with AI, it actually becomes possible. And like for all 20 years of how I do software engineering, I always was a tool builder. I was building tool to solve my own problems and sharing with others. Even Desktop Commander is this type of behavior. And with AI, I think it's kind of like a second coming of computers, because computers came and allowed us to do a lot if you know how to use computers. With this, it will become available to people who don't know how to do software engineering, because these computers will suddenly become 10, 100,000 times more useful,
Yeah.
because they will be able on natural language to do what they always could do. It required engineer to pull it off, which was, and how many engineers are there in the world? There were like my wife is a teacher at school. Can you have an engineer for each teacher in school to help with school? No, you can't. But now with AI, it becomes possible, and it will be quite like, yeah, computers gonna become. It's like second time computers are coming, like this
Yeah,
type of change.
something I started in working on computers with an Apple IIe, actually, many years ago, and I saw the changes taking place. So, closing thoughts, and how do people get a hold of you, Edwards?
Yeah, well, you can find me on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and yeah, check out Desktop Commander. We have a website. We're launching our own application. Itself, it's an MCP. You can use it in any kind of AI tool that you can use MCPs. And yeah, that's it.
All right, sounds great. So thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. And thanks to all of you for joining us. By the way, my book just came out last week. That actually, my AI helped me change my life. I had full body stem cell replacements, 100 million stem cells put in my body, got rid of my stage 3 kidney disease, went down through and got rid of my sciatica, and I feel 20 years younger. So if you get a chance, check it out. It's on Amazon, and how stem cells changed me. So the tools are in front of us. Give us a chance to be able to make our lives better, to make our work better, and basically to do things to take care of the infobesity, the challenges with data around us. And if we do it in a kind, compassionate, and loving way, it'll be good for all of us. Thanks, Edwards, for taking your time. And again, thanks to all of you for joining one more time. GSD Presents Top Global Startups. Edwards, I'll stay online to talk to you for a minute. Thank you.